Covering the islands of the Bahamas, ZNS Network presents The Bahamas Tonight.
Hello to all of you. I'm Shanique Miller. This is The Bahamas Tonight National Report. Debate on that historic package of crime bills gaining momentum. Today, Michael MP V. Alfred Gray called on the government to plug what he calls many loopholes in its crime plan. Gray raked the government over the coals for the 104 murders recorded so far this year, reminding them of the harsh criticisms they launched at former National Security Minister Cynthia Mother Pratt during her tenure. Ianthea Smith covered the morning session.
It's day 2 of debate in the House of Assembly on the government's package of 10 crime bills. Kicking off today's talks was PLP MP for Michael V. Alfred Gray, who says he generally supports the bills but pointed out what he called major loopholes in the proposed amendments. A number of those proposals, he says, simply won't work. Take, for instance, planned changes to the Criminal Procedure Code that calls for the mandatory death sentence if, for example, someone is convicted of killing a police officer or a judge, but not for an average citizen.
Everybody's life, every life is as important as every other life. So when you categorize who you will hang the criminals for, it makes the rest of us feel that our life is not as important as theirs. Something is wrong with that.
He added that the law should be amended so that the mandatory death sentence reflects the circumstances of the murder and not who the murder victim is. Mr. Gray also took exception to issues with the cash for gold regulations, which he says doesn't do enough to protect Bahamians, and the fact that the amendments seek to increase the time police can hold someone they arrest from 48 hours to 72 hours with a magistrate's permission. He says when you give more power to the already powerful, there's always a possibility for abuse.
I'm told that the officer, he might be dead now. Lock up the man just so that he could have dinner with his girlfriend. Mr. Speaker, I heard that. Listen, when you have power, you could do that. Couldn't you do it? Yeah. And if you could keep them for 72 hours, you got 5 days. The point I'm making is, Mr. Speaker, it opens abusive situations because you don't have to account for it.
But F&M MP for Golden Isles, Charles Maynard, reminded that this package of bills is only a part of a bigger strategy to reduce crime. He admitted that the package is not the end-all and be-all to the crime problem.
We, Mr. Speaker, can't legislate on emotion. We can't allow public outcry to cause us to do foolishness. This had to be a well thought out, well put together package to add to all of those important things and steps that we took for the last 4.5 years leading up to this point.
Here's what he had to say about those criticizing the bills.
But this has given us an excellent opportunity to let them know how, through a focused vision over the last 4.5 years, we've been able to put different pieces of the puzzle together.
The debate continues on Monday. Ianthea Smith, ZNS News.
During debate last evening, Pine Ridge MP Kwesi Thompson tackled the issue of the death penalty. Thompson said that those bills presented do make it difficult for this type of sentence to be carried out.
Parliament, by passing this bill, gives their and makes their intention clear. It makes their intention clear because the death penalty continues to remain a penalty for murder.
DOA disappointing on arrival is how Cat Island MP Philip Davis described the package of anti-crime bills. Davis claimed that the criminal justice system in the country is in crisis and radical initiatives like those proposed by the PLP's Project Safe Bahamas plan is needed.
We have a fundamental difference with the F&M and the DNA. We believe in a robust prevention efforts. The F&M has offered a pathetic amount of funding for non-specified social intervention, and the DNA's so-called crime plan is completely silent on prevention.
Meanwhile, Health Minister Dr. Hubert Minnis addressed the psychological effects that crime can have on victims and their families. Minnis also touched on the call by the wider community for a sex offenders registry. And while it has merit, he said we must be proactive, not reactive, in these situations. He urged the community to get to know their neighbors, as this can have reaching effects.
But in order for communities to thrive, in order for KYN to apply, each member of parliament, the MPs, must take responsibility. They must take leadership role in their community. Do you know how effective it would be if the members of parliament attended Crime Watch meetings, association meetings? There'd be many others who would follow them. Many members of parliament do not know their neighbors.
Still on crime-related news, the outbreak of violence in Fox Hill a few months ago resulted in a number of people being shot and 4 being killed, including alleged drug dealer Kenton Dion Knowles, also known as Emperor. Now, according to head of CDU Superintendent Paul Roll, the conflicts were due to turf wars waged by 3 separate factions in the community over illegal drugs. Roll says police have since spoken to gang leaders in order to resolve the conflict, and they've also launched an initiative.
That since June 1st of this year, the police have seized a total of 34 illegal firearms from within this operation. These include 1 high-powered rifle and the remainder a combination of pistols and revolvers. These firearms accounted for some 9.5% of the total firearm seizures for the year in the Bahamas. We have also seized a total of 2,134 rounds of illegal ammunition.
Roll says the operation also included a number of firearm and drug-related arrests. Persons wanted by the police were also arrested, and some 12 people hauled before the courts for illegal firearm and ammunition possession. Despite the success, Roll says they will continue to monitor the Fox Hill area. He issued this appeal to young men.
Out there, you know your friends have illegal firearm. Ask your friends to turn in your firearms to the police. I know you may be afraid in some instances, but if you make contact with your local divisional commander, they will make arrangements for you to come in, for somebody to come and collect the firearm from you.
Now, because this operation has been so successful in the Fox Hill community, police also launched a similar initiative in Pinewood Gardens October 1st. Police also gave an update on the murder of Kenton Dion Knowles, the Fox Hill man also known as Emperor. Knowles became the country's 81st murder victim after he was bumped off his motorcycle back in July and shot multiple times near the roundabout at the Malo-Butler Highway.
Nobody was, in fact, charged with Knowles' death. We have taken a number of persons into custody and questioned them, and we did not have sufficient evidence on that, so that is still under active investigation.
There's also been another break in a murder case. Roll indicated that a suspect is in custody in connection with the death of Anthony Harris.
My officers just alerted me that they just took in a suspect a short time ago for the one in the cemetery, at St. Matthew's Cemetery a few weeks ago.
A former police officer charged in court today on stealing and receiving charges. Take a look at the woman in the black jacket. She is former police officer 38-year-old Lorraine Mortimer of Obadiah Avenue. Mortimer was charged along with 36-year-old Charmaine Cartwright of Talbot Street in the Green Top. The two were in court to answer allegations of stealing and being in possession of a 2005 silver Toyota 4Runner. The two appeared before Chief Magistrate Roger Gomez. They pleaded not guilty. Mortimer and Wright have been released on $4,000 bail each with one surety. They are expected back in court next Friday, October 21st.